Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello Canadian MJ friends, I put out a video earlier today, a midday trading update to go over how I traded this space today, and now we're just going to look at the regular old technical analysis for MJ and then ranked from strongest to weakest, CRON, WEED, ACB, APH. So what distinguishes stronger to weaker here between these names is whether or not they held the low of last week, and here on MJ we can see that the bulls did hold the low of last week. It's a double bottom by 2 pennies. So the lower high pattern on the daily time frame has been in play ever since back on March 6th. We've been setting lower highs and lower lows, and the last lower high to be watching is 28.25. Anything under that level is just another lower high, keeping the bears in control. The bulls have to break that level to start to change the trend on the daily time frame. That being said, changing the trend on the daily time frame isn't, victory for the bulls. It's a small victory, but look at this weekly chart. We're not changing this trend anytime soon. We have a double bottom, absolutely, that's a great sign, but we're going to set a lower high on this weekly bounce. We could bounce, at this point, we could bounce 20% over the next 3 weeks, and we're still going to set a significantly lower high. So the lower high here to be watching is all the way up at 34.24. And considering we are currently trading at 27, that's about $7, and that is a significant amount. That is over, let's see, that's about 25% or so. So bottom line is, even if the daily chart changes the trend, the weekly chart has to form a higher low and a higher high to change the trend. And that's not going to happen anytime soon. That's going to be a bare minimum of, a month or 2 months away from now. So daily oversold bounce is underway. We have not changed the trend yet. If we change the trend, we'll be looking for a little bit of follow through, but we have to keep in mind that the weekly chart is going to top out, and it is going to form a lower high at some point, and volume is going to help us gauge how much momentum the bulls could possibly see on follow-through. But again, first things first, have to break the daily lower high. I've been watching today's move on the 4-hour time frame because, again, we can see the lower highs on this level, on this time frame, and can see what we need to see to break it. So clear double bottom, there's our resistance, just a little bit more details. The hourly time frame shows us that the bulls were really overextended today. We didn't really consolidate at any point from the low of the day. So we had a V-shaped recovery, we bounced off 26.04, and we didn't look back. It was just all bulls seeing continuation with every single candlestick on the hourly a higher low. So we will need to form a base of support and a higher low on the hourly to see continuation and to be comfortable for the bulls, because again, there is a lack of support. You have to go to the 15-minute time frame to see the clearly established support levels. So I'm looking at 27 even, then I'm looking down at 26.83 or 26.82 as the other important support level, and they're on the 15-minute time frame. You could also look here at the end of the day, 27.35 was a level. So we did see profit taking at the end of the day, not the usual really strong close at the high of the day looking for the gap up. And that's because that gap up play has not been as reliable as it was when we were in an uptrend. Because we're in a downtrend, we are not seeing reliable gap ups even with strong closes. So that's likely a reason that we saw profit taking at the end of the day today. Traders are recognizing that, so they're not trying to hold overnight as much as they have in the past. So CRON on the daily time frame, this is why it is the most bullish name out of the big four, and it's because of the higher low from last week holding. We formed a higher low and we broke the lower highs. So it's one step ahead of the game in terms of MJ. In my opinion, this is due to the correlation, or I should say it's due to the dual listing in the US here on the NASDAQ. And that's because on days like today, we saw CRON hold up a lot better this morning. As the other 3 names dumped, CRON held up. And that is because, in my opinion, the S&P 500 was up, 1.5% today. The NASDAQ was up over 1%. So in my opinion, the correlation that the U.S. ticker for CRON has with the overall market in the U.S. is a reason that was helping the bulls stay stronger. And when we see the other names get their dual listing tickers upgraded to the NASDAQ, that, in my opinion, is going to strengthen the correlation between Canadian MJ and the U.S. market for that reason. And that's due to arbitrage and things like that. So on the daily time frame, we have the higher low and the higher high. And a nice bull volume today. Next resistance after the high of today of 825. The next clear level is a bounce attempt that topped out at 898. So we saw a significant move. The 4-hour time frame, again, we got too extended. It was just a straight bull move all day. And at the end of the day, I was looking at Cron when it was up near the high of the day, and I started trying to short it. And my broker Fidelity didn't have any shares available to short, but it's a big upper wake up profit taking. It's a bearish reversal spinning top candlestick, and it's actually a shooting star candlestick. And we're looking for just normal healthy consolidation on the hourly. Again, like I said, we have to establish a higher low, and that makes the bulls a lot more comfortable. If you show me this hourly chart and tell me that I'm in a position, I'd say that's great, I made some nice profit, but I'm going to be looking to lock that profit in because I know we're going to need to consolidate here. We are way overextended. The 5-minute time frame today went from oversold and very quickly into overbought. So again, 15-minute time frame, if you want to find supports, even here, it's very hard to pick out some clear supports that were established. 759 is one level, and then I'd be looking down 751. So you can pick out some supports here, but very little consolidation on this move up. So the ideal scenario for the bulls would be to establish a higher low on the hourly tomorrow and then see continuation. That would be the ideal day. But even if we consolidate tomorrow, it's not a big red flag because, again, this hourly higher low has to form. WEED is the second strongest name. Huge reversal day today. This is the name that I played on the bounce. And the daily lower high to be watching is up at 29.05. Anything under 29.05 is just a lower high. And here's why we're not as strong as Cron, because we dropped to a lower low. So it's still a lower high, lower low pattern over the last couple weeks. And to change that, we have to break 29.05. So looking at the 4-hour time frame, it's very clear that we are still setting lower highs on this chart. Every bounce is a lower high. Pulled back today from $28 at the end of the day. Bulls need a higher low and then a higher high to change the 4-hour trend. Bull MACD cross is a good sign. The volume's a good sign. Plenty of good sign for the bulls. But I just want to keep highlighting that the longer term time frames, the trend has not changed on the majority of these names. And for some of these names, we're not even close to changing the trend yet. So while the bulls had beautiful opportunity for gains today, again, here's the hourly chart, higher lows every candlestick, very little consolidation. Have to go to the 15-minute time frame to see that clear consolidation. 27.34, 26.51, 25.87. So essentially, if you're looking at the longer term trend and whether it's changing, I like the 4-hour time frame for that. If you're looking for support levels from today, you have to look at the 15-minute time frame. So those are the two most important time frames as we head into tomorrow if you're establishing a game plan for yourself. And we are looking for, can the bulls continue tomorrow? And I would be shocked to see continuation without hourly healthy consolidation first. ACB on the daily time frame, same thing. We dropped to a lower low today. The lower high on the daily time frame is 850. From where we currently stand right now, we need another 8% move just to get to this resistance level. So absolutely, big bullish reversal candlestick with volume behind it. Can we confirm these reversal candlesticks tomorrow with another green day of follow through is the question. 4-hour time frame, very clear lower highs have not been broken. The 4-hour trend has not changed. It's just given us a really nice one-day oversold bounce opportunity at this point. Hourly time frame, lack of support, straight shot, V-shaped recovery. Have to go to the 15-minute time frame to establish those support levels. 783, 751, and 734. Every time we consolidate and build a higher low, that's what I'm looking at. So again, need an hourly higher low. It is a bearish reversal candlestick on the hourly time frame. How we open tomorrow will depend. Really, the first thing that we're going to be looking at on the open tomorrow is, can the bulls break the high of today? That's step number one. If we can't, we're going to look for profit taking. If we can, we're going to still be cautious because these hourly charts are extended. APH, to wrap it up, clearly the weakest name. To break the daily lower high pattern, have to break 1092, and at this point, that's over 10% from where we currently stand. So same thing, 4-hour time frame, lower highs still very clear, not even close to breaking the lower high pattern on the 4-hour. Hourly chart did have a little more clear support established here. We didn't keep higher lows every candlestick. That's another reason we're a little bit weaker. And we looked at the 15-minute time frame to find those support levels. End of the day, it was 976, 962, 949. You can see all three names consolidated around the same time to give us these 15-minute higher lows. There's three very clear supports on the 15-minute time frame. But the bottom line is, even if we break the high of tomorrow first thing, or the high of today first thing tomorrow, I'm not going to be a buyer because this is too extended for me on the hourly time frame, and I know a higher low needs to be established sooner rather than later, and it's just not the risk to reward scenario that I want for entries at this point. Congrats to the bulls that held on through this bounce and got a significant gain. I had a small gain. It was a really solid profit on the day, but definitely left a lot on the table, and will adjust my game plan for the next time to make up for that. So I appreciate you tuning in. We'll continue to watch how this rest of this week goes. Don't lose sight of the longer term timeframes if you're looking longer term. And if you're looking shorter term, you're focusing on the day trading timeframes, the shorter term timeframes. If you're looking at both, then you definitely need to be flashing between, what's the hourly chart doing? What's the 4 hour looking like? Are we changing the trend on the 4 hour? What do we have to do to change the trend on the daily? What do we have to do to change the trend on the weekly? And don't lose sight of the weekly charts for APH, extremely bearish, nowhere near changing any kind of trend for months. ACB, I shouldn't say extremely bearish. I just mean in relative to the last couple months, we are clearly bearish. And again, we're going to bounce on the weekly. We're going to set a lower high. We're not just going to change the trend from the bottom. And it's going to require a higher low and a higher high, which is going to require months to play out. So I'm still watching that, summer, June, 2 months until we got the vote in June. I don't think June's going to be the catalyst. Sure, we might see some short-term action, but I don't think that's going to be the point where everybody says, okay, we're now in an uptrend on the weekly time frame on all these names. That would be too easy. We're going to see the price move up a little bit in anticipation of the vote, in my opinion, but that's a long way away. We'll cover that when we get closer. So ACB weekly time frame broke to a lower low this week. Not a good sign. The last lower high, 1198. If we bounce, we will likely set a lower high compared to 1198, and it will require a higher low and a higher high to change the trend. WEED is the best looking weekly chart with Cron because we still have a higher low. It's a weekly equilibrium pattern with a tightening range that is going to give us a crystal clear break. At this point, if this candlestick were to stay, if this were the end of the week, I would say that we would see a break sometime in the next month. In the next 4 weeks, we would see a break from this range. But that all depends on how the rest of the week goes and what the candlestick shape on the weekly time frame ends up looking like. And then there's Cron on the weekly chart to wrap it up, also with a higher low, also in an equilibrium pattern, but more space to consolidate. And this pattern, this could play out for 2 months because there's a lot more space to trade around in a tightening range, still within the current range that we're in, comparative to WEED. So I appreciate you watching. Hopefully this was a little bit helpful in terms of the outlooks longer term versus shorter term, how we navigate different time frames to get different information, and how we stay cautious and wait. If I'm a long-term investor, if I'm looking to buy in here for when we actually get legalization, looking to hold for 2 years, 3 years, I'm not doing anything until at a bare minimum, the daily chart changes the trend with a higher low and higher high. Then I would protect my trade with a stop loss in case we break those support levels and do it all over again if we have to drop down to lower lows. If I want to be extremely conservative, I'm waiting for the weekly time frame. So it all depends on the kind of trader you are and the risk to reward ratio you want to take on. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.